Hi dear students, welcome back to the second part of this video. So let's have a little recap of first part. So in first part we had studied that how an illiterate peasant Rajkumar Shukla met Gandhiji during a Lucknow convention. He in fact had come to Gandhiji, in fact on the advice of someone had told him that Gandhiji would help him against the malpractices of sharecropping system which had been going on in Champaran. So of course Gandhiji was as busy as a bee. In the wake of the same, he could not go along with him immediately. But Shukla was so obstinate, he chased Gandhiji everywhere. He in fact became a tag for him for months, and ultimately Gandhiji had to tell him that on blah blah date he was supposed to be in Calcutta, and from there Rajkumar Shukla could collect him. So months passed by, and when Gandhiji reached Calcutta, so he found Rajkumar Shukla in his wait. So from there, they in fact went to Muzaffarpur. Gandhiji stayed at the home of, first of all, they in fact went to Rajendra Prasad's home, where Rajendra Prasad was not there, so Gandhiji was not allowed to have a comfortable place. He in fact lay on the ground. In fact, he was not allowed to pull water from the well as well. From there, they in fact reached Mr. Kripalani's house, who was a professor. Mr. Kripalani asked Gandhiji, to stay at the house of his friend Malkani, and Malkani in fact allowed Gandhiji to stay at his own home, which was a big thing because that time government officers had fear of British authority, especially in smaller areas, and they never allowed those Indian people who were supporters of home rule, to stay at their homes. From there, in fact, Gandhi started collecting all the documents, evidence, and eventually, it was found that there was something wrong going on. So, when in fact Gandhi started inquiring the things in detail, British authorities got to know that there in fact malpractices, their suppression and oppression of sharecropper would come into light. So that was the reason they started threatening him. So when Gandhiji was investigating, there came a legal notice for him to attend the court the next year. I believe this we would cover in this video. I in fact overshot the summary. No problem. So let's now see the detailed explanation of the chapter. So now let's see, student, the remaining part of this chapter. So see, the news of Gandhiji's advent and of the nature of his mission spread quickly through Muzaffarpur and to Champaran. So very soon people got to know why Gandhiji had come there and the nature of his mission, that he had come there to battle for the rights of sharecroppers. So when this news spread in Champaran, in fact this news spread very quickly like wildfire, in the regions of Muzaffarpur and Champaran. Sharecroppers from Champaran began arriving on foot and by conveyance to see their champion, and they wanted to see who was the man who had come there to offer his helping hand for that oppression which of course was being loaded upon the innocent sharecroppers. Muzaffarpur lawyers called on Gandhi to brief him. Called on means they in fact came to meet Gandhiji to brief him. They frequently represented peasant groups in court. So they were the same lawyers who were in fact fighting the cases of sharecroppers in different courts. They told him about their cases and reported the size of their fee. They told what kind of cases they were fighting and of course what was the amount of fee they were charging from sharecroppers. Gandhi chided the lawyers for collecting big fee. Chided means scolded. When he got to know how the lawyers were charging high fee from the sharecropper, he scolded them. From the sharecroppers, he said, I have come to the conclusion that we should stop going to law courts. And he said, there is no point There is no fruitfulness of going to court, and how he was on bull's eye. What he in fact caught so much in the beginning, that was very, very right. How that was right? Let's see. Taking such cases to the court does little good, where the peasants are so crushed, they are so subdued, harassed, and fear stricken, and they are suffering from fear. Law courts are useless, law courts cannot do much. Alright, the real relief, something has gone wrong, just a sec. Yes. So the real relief for them is to be free from fear. So student, this is the key point. How comprehending, insightful Gandhiji was. He realized what is the real solution. Real solution did not lie in the fact to be going to courts, because see, first of all, a court, courts were of Britishers, lawyers were of Britishers, police was of Britishers. So that is why there was hardly any scope to have fair decision, fair verdict. And in fact, this court trial was such long process or lingering process. Like the same process was there even at that time. तारीख पे तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख, मिलावट हमें क्या मिला, तारीख मिली. All right. So the same problem was there with peasant. They got तारीख पे तारीख, and this was the reason it in fact emptied whatever leftover amount was there in their pocket. So that was the reason Gandhi realized that there wasn't any point to go to court. The real solution was not winning case, because if one particular peasant wins the case, then it's not gonna make big impact. The problem was every farmer was fear stricken. He was loaded with fear. So the real relief of this problem was to make the farmer free from the fear. Because if he gets free from this fear, he will not allow anyone anymore to suppress him. And this was the reason Gandhi realized that this was the ultimate solution of this problem. Winning case would be a temporary solution, because if 1, 2, 5, 10 win, that's not gonna make impact of thousands of peasants who were equally being exploited by the sharecroppers, British landlords. So this was the reason he in fact summarized in nutshell. He said that real relief is, and this became the real solution to make farmers free from the fear. Most of the arable means fertile land, in the Champaran district was divided into large estates. Alright, large estates owned by Englishmen. So lands were in fact divided into big properties, and Britishers were the owners of those lands and worked by Indian tenants, and our farmers were tenant there. They had hired the land for farming. The chief commercial crop was indigo. Alright, what is called commercial? You must be knowing, anything which is done for earning money, that's what is called commercial. That was indigo. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 320 or 15% of their holding with indigo and surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. So far so good. I don't find anything wrong in this contract, since Indian farmers were using the land of British landlords. So that is why as rent they set this condition that Indian farmers would grow 15% part of the land with indigo plant. You must be knowing about indigo. This used to be a plant, whose roots were used for making blue color. Alright. So at that time there was great demand of indigo plants in European countries. So that was the reason, this 15% which was grown with indigo was surrendered to the owner of land, and they exported the same to European countries, and in that way British landlord got decent profit, good profit. But there was a big shortcoming, drawback of indigo cultivation. A place where indigo crop was grown, that became infertile for rest of the crop, means other crop could not be grown on that part. That remained fertile only for indigo. So it means that 15% was useless. So this in fact dealing was made with long-term contract of 10 years, 15 years, that for 15 years you would have to do the same. You would have to grow 15% part with indigo, and that 15% part would be ours as the rent of the land. So presently the landlords learned that Germany had developed synthetic indigo. But then there came a twist. Landlord got to know that Germany had developed artificial indigo, and of course it enhanced excess availability of it because it was artificial. It was not dependent upon season, other factor. The landlord did hanky panky. What they did, hanky panky means craftiness, cleverness. How they did hanky panky? See, they thereupon obtained agreement from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. They said, listen, dear farmer, now I'm not gonna take 15% indigo as rent. So you keep this 15% and give me amount of 15%. I need cash now. This indigo 50% is yours. Alright, you do one thing, you give me cash now. I will take that cash as rent. And Indian innocent peasant till then did not know the reality. They did not know how in Germany synthetic indigo had been produced. They thought, no problem. If we are giving 15%, we would export it directly. We would sell it to market directly. They never knew what had happened. Alright, so that is why they signed. There were many who signed willingly. So presently the sharecroppers arrangement was irksome. That was confusing because long-term contexts were there, so many rules were there. So this was the reason Indian peasants who were innocent could never understand the dark side behind this contract. And that was the reason, and many signed willingly. They thought, okay, they did not find something wrong in it. So whatever proposal was there by landlord, they okayed it, considering it nice. They thought, if 15% crop is not being given to them, no problem, we would give 15% cash. They thought that they would sell indigo themselves, but they did not know reality. Those who resisted, some protested, engaged lawyers. Alright, they engaged lawyer against this contract. The landlord hired thugs. So they hired thugs, means here goons. Alright, goons, hooligans, means bullies. Alright, rowdies. So they hired rowdies for threatening these innocent lawyers, and subsequently, these farmers, and subsequently these lawyers had to sign. The information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasant who had signed, and eventually those illiterate peasants also got the information about it, and they wanted their money back. Now they wanted their money back because they had understood that how deceitfully they had been treated. It was open ditch, alright, in which they had been thrown. So that was the reason they wanted to have their money back. At this point, there came champion, alright, Singham. Gandhi arrived in Champaran, and then Gandhi arrived. He began by trying to get the facts. He started collecting evidences. First, he visited the secretary of the British Landlord Association. So all these landlords had made an association, like we have Vyapar Mandal. Likewise, all these landlords had made their association. Gandhiji met the secretary of that association. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. He told, why should Gandhiji be provided with any information? He was not a local person. He was not a local person. He was from outside. Gandhiji answered that he was no outsider. He said no, it was his land, his motherland, so he was not outsider. Next, Gandhi met British official commissioner of Tirupat division. Alright, he met the commissioner of Tiruvut division in which the Champaran district lay. So in Champaran district was in Tiruvut division. So he met the commissioner of that division. The commissioner Gandhi report proceeded to bully me, started threatening Gandhiji and advised me forthwith to leave Tiruvut. He asked, Mr. Immediately you're supposed to leave this region. Gandhi did not leave. He did not leave. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari. He in fact headed to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. Motihari at that time was capital of Champaran. Several lawyers accompanied him, went along with Gandhiji. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. And when he reached, which place? Motihari. He was welcomed by so many people in large number. He went to a house and using it as headquarters, continued his investigation. Before advancing the matter, he wanted to be damn sure about each and every happening over there. He did not want to be embarrassed before anyone on account of lack of evidences. So this was the reason he started mustering, evidences in heaps. A report came that a peasant had been maltreated in a nearby village. He had been wrongly treated in a nearby village. Gandhi decided to go and see. Next morning he started out on the back of an elephant. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him. Second form of overtook him and ordered him to return to town. That messenger of commissioner asked Gandhiji, to go back, not to go forward. So see, in his carriage, in his cottage, the place where he was living, Gandhi complied. He obeyed the order. The messenger drove Gandhi home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. So one government notice was given to Gandhiji to leave Champaran immediately. Gandhi signed a receipt. Student, pay attention what I am pronouncing. This is pronounced receipt, not receipt. P is silent in this word. Alright, but of course our people pronounce it receipt. The point is there, of course we pronounce Indian accent. There are many words which we pronounce, of course they are Indian accent, but of course, in international level, they are used differently. So this is receipt, and you would be shocked to know there are so many words we pronounce, we speak, and they never exist at international level. And the commonmost word is foundation. Yes, some of you must be shocked after listening to it. You must have heard every Tom, Dick, Harry using this word foundation. But it does not exist at all. You just go through any dictionary, or you type this word foundation, you won't find. But Indian, this has become, I would say, an Indian word. It's not used in foreign countries, but it has become Indian word. Indian people use. If you see Hindukosh or any Hindi-based dictionary, you would find this word. But if you see any English to English dictionary, Merriam-Webster is there, Oxford dictionary there, you won't find this word mentioned there. So there is no word like foundation in English. Likewise, no word is there. Proudy, we say you are very proudy. No, proudy cannot be there. Arrogant is there. What should be the substitution of foundation? Restriction, limitation, confinement. And proudy, haughty, arrogant, vain, conceited, power drunk. These words can be used. And one more is there. We use fastly. No, there is no word like fastly in English. Fast is sufficient because fast is adverb as well as adjective. So fastly is not there. Say thank you to me. He did not say. Very naughty. Let's see. They said for the notice and wrote on it, and he would disobey the order. Alright. And Gandhiji signed at the seat mentioning he would not follow the order. See the daredevilry of Gandhiji. Gandhiji became true Singham there. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons, an order to appear to court the next day. And then there began again Tariq pe Tariq kind of thing. Gandhiji was called to come to the court next day because he had not obeyed government order, so he was served with another legal order. See the promptness. of authority, because authority knew that how illegal practices, illicit practices had been going on Champaran, and they had understood that Gandhiji would unbox them. So this was the reason they wanted him to chuck Champaran as fast as it was possible. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons. We did it. All night Gandhi remained awake. He did not sleep. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friend, powerful friend. He sent instruction to the ashram. He wired a full report to the Viceroy. Viceroy was head of country in, at that time of India. So he in fact told him everything. He called his powerful, influential, powerful friend over there. Morning found the town of Motihari black with peasant. And in the morning, what happened? When Gandhiji woke up, what he found? That the roads of Motihari were completely blackened. They were completely filled with the peasant. They did not know Gandhi resided in South Africa. Of course, Gandhiji had gone against racism in South Africa. He had protested racism in South Africa. They did not know at all about it. They were, unlettered, illiterate, poor peasant. But what they got to know, they had merely hardly heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. This was the reason, to be there. They got to know that there was a Mahatma who was warring a battle, for them, was in trouble with authority. So to offer their support, they accumulated there. This spontaneous demonstration, of course, this exhibition, this demonstration was not planned, it was spontaneous. All it unplanned, in thousands around the courthouse, was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. And how right Louis Fisher has recorded this happening, that it was the very first attempt to be free from the fear of British, because the very first time they could muster their courage, to get together to register their protest against malpractice of Britishers. The very first time they collected to show their protest, and of course this was the very first step from their side to be free from the fear of Britishers. Wow, well done. The official felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. Of course, few policemen were there, and they found millions, thousands of people, how to handle them. Now, in fact, only one help was needed, and that was help of Gandhiji, and they had to ask him to do the same. He helped them regulate the crowd, and Gandhi did help them. See, he did help them. It was not so that he became illicit, means unlawful. He convinced people not to go against the law. He was polite and friendly. He was giving them concrete proof. At the same time, Gandhiji gave concrete, strong proof to British authority that their might, that their power, hitherto, which till now dreaded and unquestioned, was frightening and unquestioned. Till now, the power of Britishers was frightening and unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians, and he showed them, see, he's Indian. They are challenging your power. You believe that you are above the law, but now see, these people are challenging your authority. Alright, no one will endure your oppression, your suppression, your harassment, your exploitation, your subdue anymore. The government was baffled. Government was confused what to do. The prosecutor, government lawyer is called prosecutor, requested the judge to postpone that trial. The same, tariq pe tariq, tariq pe tariq. He had understood that that was not the time, to do something like that. So he in fact asked the court to set the next date for a hearing. Apparently, clearly, the authority wished to consult their superiors, and it's quite obvious authority wanted to, talk to superior in this respect. They wanted to get their guideline, their instruction. This was the reason, the lawyer asked, prosecutor asked the judge to give next date for the same. So in this video, we would keep this much. Very interesting part is left, which would be covered in next video. So thank you so so much for watching this video. You are great and so